Okay.
All right, I'm recording.
Welcome. Hello, guys.
Hi,
Welcome
everyone.
to Wingin' It, the West Wing Podcast. My name's Andrea. I sound like a Stepford person. And this is
I'm Sally. Hi, guys.
And we're here to talk about the West Wing.
We are.
Yay!
Hooray.
And we're in season 3, kind of.
What? Kind of, yeah, kind of.
We're here to talk about they don't even call it an episode. They call it a play. We're here to talk about the play, wink, episode called Isaac and Ishmael.
Yeah. That's why we're
here. So if you were looking for a continuation of season 2,
Nope.
You're not going to find it here. You're going to find something else entirely.
You'd be wrong. Yep.
Yeah, it's funny because I've got some first-time watchers that I'm friends with, and so a lot of them I've been like, okay, go watch The West Wing, and then like tell me how awesome it is once you get hooked by it. And one of the few things they come back with, if we haven't talked about it specifically episode by episode, is they're like, what's with that one episode at the beginning of season 3? Like, what's that about?
Yeah.
And I always have to explain to them, well, there's a whole backstory.
Because if you don't watch it, if you're binging on Netflix, which I did, you don't know the story. So you're just, watching through, it plays the next episode automatically, and it plays Isaac and Ishmael, and you're like, what is going on?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess everybody probably knows this, but this episode aired on October 3rd, 2001. So it was less than, I guess it was 3 weeks, within 3 weeks of September 11th of that year.
Right.
And it is so ironic. We have these like weird timing things with the podcast.
Yeah, we really do.
Because today is September 12th.
Yeah, for those who, you wouldn't know. Everybody wouldn't know except me and Andrea. But
nobody would know that.
We're recording this on September 12th.
But the Lord John Marbury thing, too.
Right.
How we recorded the day after. It's just
that was
strange.
Really crazy. Yeah. It is strange. Very strange. So, this episode is sort of, I don't know the word for it, but I feel like people are very on opposite sides of this episode. Some people really like it that I have read, like on Reddit, and like not really like it, but like respect it as an episode.
Yeah,
but a lot of people didn't like it.
I think people respect. Some people respect it. Definitely not everybody,
right?
But I don't think anybody likes it.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I read on Reddit that somebody thought it was one of their favorite episodes.
Yeah, that person doesn't exist. I can test that does not exist.
They were fake. They were lying then.
Yes, they are lying because that doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Yeah, I agree. So we're going to talk about it just to do the full thing. It would be too weird to skip it. We can't totally skip it because it exists. It has people in it. Things happen.
Yes, we can't cherry pick it.
Right.
We can't just skip the episodes we don't like. It's like life. There's no shortcuts.
Right, because then we would just skip all of season 5. Except like one.
Well, except for a couple.
So...
Yeah, okay, well, do we need to recap what happens?
I guess we can recap what happened. It'll take about 5 seconds.
Okay.
The White House is crashed. You can't see me, but I put air quotes around that, which is when
Dave Matthews Band is playing.
When they shut down, crash. They shut down the White House, and for security reasons, so everybody has to stay put. And also at the same time, there's an honors class visiting. So Josh is supposed to be lecturing them. It's a bunch of students, and also the threat that they're looking for is this guy that works in the White House, who I can't remember his name at the moment, but Leo goes to interview him at the same time all this is happening. That's it. That's the whole episode.
Yeah. And apparently Leo's racist in this episode.
Yep.
So that's super uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. How'd you feel about this episode, Andrea?
Honestly, I haven't watched it since probably the first time I saw it, which was at this point might have been
not a rewatcher.
2 years ago.
Even for people who watch right through, I think a lot of people skip it.
Yeah, kind of like the special episode.
Well, and because when you're rewatching, you just watched two cathedrals, you want to jump right into...
Yeah, why would
what
you
happens
knowingly...
after that? Yeah, you wouldn't on purpose watch this between them. Right.
It's the antithesis of binge watching to watch this episode in the sequence.
Yeah, it throws everything off.
But because I hadn't seen it in like 2 years probably, I actually thought it was better than I was expecting.
Really?
In the rewatch. Yeah.
Thought it was
because I liked a lot of the Josh and Donna, like they had some quippy... There were some good, like, witty moments.
Go figure.
And I think there was a lot of... Well, not just them, but also, you know, there was some Toby and CJ. Like, there were some just, like, funny, quick-witted lines that I just kind of forgot amidst the whole, like, well, this doesn't really fit the show, but we're doing it anyway thing.
Right.
You, not so much?
Yeah, I agree. I didn't... Here's the thing. One of the things that we love so much about The West Wing is how they can take hot button issues, not even hot button issues, but big issues, and they can make them personalized, and they can do them with this nuance and this subtlety and this, like,
this was
you care about something without even realizing that you cared about it. You know what I mean? Like, at the end, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. So, I think it was a great effort, and I appreciate that Sorkin wanted to do it and tried to do it, but it is so preachy to me. It's so... Here's what I'll say. There's an article...
ABC Family?
Yeah.
It's if The West Wing was on ABC Family.
I mean, it's literally like in a classroom format. So you're like...
Yeah.
And the students are asking these questions that, no high school student would ever ask. I mean... ever.
Not at my high school.
It's so, like, the cheap and easy way out. Sorkin is literally just setting up these questions so that he can knock them out of the park with the little soliloquies that he's planned. So that, it's just not as creative of a way to get his point across as we're used to from Sorkin. There's actually, James, I can't say his last name, but James Poniwozik is the TV critic for the New York Times. Not for the New York Times. Sorry, I just totally was wrong about that. For Time. He was the New York critic for Time at the time. And now he is the New York Times TV critic. But when he wrote this, it was for Time magazine. And he wrote the critique of this episode after it aired on October 4th. He wrote it. And if you guys can Google that, his review of it is exactly how I feel. Like, if I could just read.
You're not going to tell us what it said?
Well, I feel like I can't do it justice, but I'll quote some of it. Like, he talks about the class goes to the basement, and he says, from here on out, for the bulk of the episode, class is in session for Professor Sorkin, who doesn't need to bother even with the scanty dramatic fig leaves he usually knits together in order to deliver himself of soliloquies through his characters. Here, the kids just serve up one set-up question after another. Why are they trying to kill us? What do we do now? That allows for a series of well-meaning, well-expressed, but by now well-worn disquisitions on how Islam does not teach terrorism, spy satellites can't replace human intelligence, and killing innocent civilians is not noble. And so he goes on, like, he gives it praise. He appreciates that, like, because later he says, like, something to praise is that he did it at all. That whatever the deficiencies of the script, the very idea of interrupting a serial drama and using its characters in a one-time only play for this cause, or even a lesser one, is the kind of fresh, quick response thinking most of TV could use. So, he, like, appreciates the effort, but there were just a lot of... It just fell short of what Sorkin could have done.
Well, but I guess that's my real question for you. And do you feel like he needed to do this episode? Like, he felt very strongly they needed to. Some of the cast members also felt strongly that they had to do something. They weren't sure exactly what. But do you feel like he had to, or could they just have easily have gone into season 3?
I think they just could have easily gone into season 3 and no one would have been like, hey, how weird that they didn't do anything. Like, it would have been fine to go into season 3, but I do appreciate the effort of taking on that heavy of a topic. But I just think that had it had more time to breathe and for Sorkin to really think about it, that he could have done it a lot better. Because honestly, okay, so like the Leo storyline is crazy. Like it's not Leo at all. We know and love Leo, but even that storyline is more nuanced because this is that's reflective of the time. It's somebody who would never normally be that way is so freaked out and so on edge that he, like, has forgotten all of his morals. You know, it's not until the end that he's like, what was I doing? And I think, because we know Leo wouldn't be like that. A lot of people's gut reaction is to be like, this storyline's ridiculous. Leo would never do that. But, like, that's the point. That's the whole thing, is that Leo wouldn't do that. And I think had Sorkin had time to flesh out more of a story like that, it could have gone so much better.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I did like about it? Let me tell you what I did like. I love Toby's whole speech about killing everybody. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Where he's like, oh no, but the Yankees can stay, and they'll need someone to play, so the Red Sox can stay. That
cheerleaders
is my favorite Toby curmudgeon style.
See, I think there were some actually good quips in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Like when Josh is talking to the kids at the beginning and he asks the kid's name, he's like, Billy Fernandez or something. He's like, okay, I'll call you Fred.
Yes.
You know, and just like talking about the executive branch, how it's more powerful, and the kid's like, well, actually, I think the people's branch is supposed to blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, but we have a motorcade, so back off.
Right.
You know, just like a lot of... There's just a lot of, like, funny things about how they got a fish registered for 18 credits when he was in college, and the fish made the dean's list. Like, there's some good stuff, I feel like, that gets overlooked in this episode.
Oh, I totally
Is it enough
agree.
to make it a good episode? Not necessarily.
Yeah, because I agree totally. I mean, so much of my notes are just great lines and just them saying great stuff. I wrote down the thing about the motorcade. Josh, even when Josh gets sentimental about the box his mom sends him, then doing the whole, like, KKK is to Christianity. Like, there were good...
That was a good
points,
analogy.
and there were good lines, and there was good writing. It just wasn't enough to save it for me.
Yeah. The AV Club said that the West Wing episodes normally feel like they've crammed an hour and a half of material into 42 minutes, and this episode in particular, it felt like 20 minutes worth of dialogue stretched paper thin.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. Because it did, like you were saying, do we really need this episode? Like, it might have been... It's good that they addressed it, but it did feel like it was stretched to me. That it didn't need to go on for... Like, they've had to fill a whole episode just to do this, and that was unnecessary.
Yeah.
It was
I kind of liked it how everybody was there. It was a little cheesy. It was a little afternoon special. But
like when the president comes in and the young guy's like, sir, can I ask you a question? Do you consider yourself a man of principle? Like, he's the president. All of the kids'
and he's
questions,
already said goodbye.
Yeah, he's already said goodbye,
said,
which
like,
also, so unlike Bartlett to just be like, oh, here's a classroom full of teachable children, let me just leave. He doesn't offer any random knowledge or do anything. He's just like, okay, bye, guys. I think that was very odd to me, because you're bringing President Bartlett in. He's the perfect guy to be like, let me tell you this and this and this. Like, why do we not use him for some of this?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, it's odd, interesting choice.
That would be too heavy-handed?
I don't know. Well, not if he came in right at the end and, like, just did it a little. But because it's interesting that they have Dr. Bartlett deliver the whole Isaac and Ishmael thing, when that seems like the perfect thing for Martin Sheen to have delivered. Right. So I think that's interesting. I don't know. It just... all of the kids asking the questions, like when the one girl is like, what do you call a society where you live in fear every day, da da da. Like, has Sorkin ever met a high school girl? I'm not convinced. Because it's or like high schoolers in general, the questions were just too much for me.
Why is everybody trying to kill us? And then, like, Josh tells them they're trying to kill you too, or I think they were asking him, why are they trying to kill you. Yeah. Like, Josh, don't tell the children that they're trying to kill you too. That's just not something you do.
I did think that all of our cast, and that's not to say that the kids weren't great. All of the kid actors were wonderful in their own regard. They were done a disservice with the questions, because everybody else, Josh, Toby, Bradley Whitford, like, the actors did great. Charlie's little speech about being in a gang, like, do you think they're walking around with their heads down, which that felt a little like, okay, let's throw gangs in here too. I don't know. But everyone acted perfectly. I loved all of our people. It just didn't work, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And I did like when Toby said, you know what Benjamin Franklin said? And CJ's like, hey, look, I invented the stove.
Yeah, I liked that a lot. And I liked Josh's.
There were good things.
There were definitely good things. There were great lines. I liked Josh's line about what he would do punishment-wise. That he was like, I'd lock him up and make him watch home videos. And then he's like, and then they get punched in the mouth every night at bedtime by a different person every night. Like, there was definitely great dialogue. For such a huge topic, it just wasn't enough to fix it for me.
I will say I did a little bit of research because I was like, why? There was no, previously on The West Wing, there was no even title theme song. And I looked it up online, and there's actually a YouTube clip, which I'll post on our Facebook page because I do that occasionally. And they had the cast members do a direct address to camera. I think most of the main characters, and they talked about why this doesn't fit with the sequence, that this is not the beginning of season 3, it's a standalone episode. And then after that, instead of doing the intro song after they did this direct address, they posted phone numbers of where people could donate money to the firefighters and the Widow and Children's Fund for firefighters and things like that.
Yeah.
And then they're like, but when we do begin season 3, you'll hear about like re-election campaigns, a veto override, overturning the big tobacco something, funding the NEA. And then at the end, Donna's like, and I get a boyfriend.
Oh, gosh.
It was so weird because you go through it and you're like, okay, you're hearing about a veto override and a re-election campaign. It sounds all very nerdy and whatever. Mm-hmm. And you're like, yeah, technically that is why I like this show. And then Donna goes, I get a boyfriend. I'm like, oh gosh. But I mean, we're excited for you, but like, it was just it was kind of strange. I'll tweet it.
What boyfriend does she get? Am I totally blanking?
Ways and Means?
I don't remember.
Oh, well. Sal.
Sorry. I'll remember when we watch it in a minute.
It's coming up like next episode or something.
Okay, all right. I'll probably be like,
so anyway.
I forgot. I see, and that's what, like you were saying, did they need to do this? And I was trying to think, like, what else would they have done? But really, yeah, they could have skipped this episode and just done a little opening like that about, like, you know, like, this is terrible and this is what happened and da-da-da-da. I'm sure Sorkin could have written
and we're going to keep going
3-minute monologue about, like, how important our country is and democracy is and da-da-da-da in the face of all this. And that would have sufficed. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if they had done something like that and said, like, hey, we're going to keep going as planned, because that was kind of the sentiment of the country
Same way
at the
that,
time.
Like, SNL did. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't really feel like they had to do it, but I respect the fact that they did. And, you know, it's obviously not the best episode. It definitely could have been a lot worse.
Yep.
So, anyway, I guess my real question was, at what point do we stop having random songs play in episodes? Because after a while, we've had a lot of songs, and I don't know if it's when, you know, writers change or producers change or music supervisors, but I feel like we have a lot fewer random songs from, like, season 4 on. Don't you?
I'd agree with that. Although, that's the one thing that gets an extra point for me for this episode, is the Buffalo Springfield
like the song?
At the end. Yes, I love that song. And I like the placement of it in here. It's For What It's Worth by Buffalo Springfield. It's like, stop, children. I won't sing it, but...
What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. People can't sleep at night if they don't hear us sing.
That's
Plus,
true.
we did just get we got a bad review. I think we should celebrate it every time we get a bad review on iTunes. We should, like, give them gold stars of appreciation for their time to be so critical. I know it takes a long time. They just think we ramble too much. But you know what I say to that? Get your own podcast. It's my podcast. I'll ramble if I want to.
Wow, that's interesting considering how much other really popular podcasts ramble. That surprises me. But hey,
they don't know that. There's a spectrum, and we're like right in the middle, I think. Maybe not.
Well, interesting.
But we are going to go into season 3 properly when it gets here, which is next episode. So, there you go. No MVP. No nothing. Just Isaac and Ishmael and Andrea and Sallie.
Yep. That's it. All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Catch you later.
Bye.